Hello everyone, this is Kevin Welch, and I'm here to talk to you about plagiarism today. Plagiarism is a real serious problem in academics with serious consequences. One of the issues with plagiarism is that it bypasses the educational process. In general, the idea with going to school and learning some skills and doing assignments and things is that you start off at a certain level of knowledge or ability, and then you get exposed to new training or to new knowledge, and you struggle with it a bit, you develop it further, and ultimately then you elevate your education, you elevate your abilities and your skill set beyond where you started. And plagiarism, whether done intentionally or unintentionally, can bypass that educational process. And so it's really important then that you know what plagiarism is and how to avoid it. For one thing, in order to make sure that you are actually getting an education, because that's the whole point, and also to avoid the consequences that can come from it. You want to make sure that you're going through the educational process and actually developing yourself as a person, intellectually, mentally, as opposed to just looking for that shortcut to the end product, right? So it's not good enough that you actually find a shortcut to an end product, because the end product, even though we're assessing that end product, that assignment, to see what you know or what you can do, if it doesn't actually reflect what you know or what you can do, it's going to bite you in the rear end further down the line. You're going to get on a job site and not be able to know what to do, and your boss is going to go, "Oh, I thought you were educated in this. I need to find someone else." There's some very real-world consequences. Plagiarism in practice, in real-world contexts, like on the job site and so forth, can lead to severe fines for yourself, severe fines for your company, and depending on how blatant it is, there's people who steal various products or various ideas and claim them as their own, and they do jail time and so forth. So there's a lot of issues with it, but I'm going to start off by talking about some different forms of plagiarism. And you're going to see I just searched types of plagiarism on Google, and this site from Grammarly came up. And the first one it talks about is complete plagiarism. This is overt, meaning it's something that's essentially done intentionally. And it occurs when a writer submits someone else's work in their own name. So whether you pay someone to do it or you get someone to do it for you, you need to do your own work, come up with your own ideas, not find it somewhere else online, and just claim that it's yours. Direct plagiarism is similar. It's overt, and it means you pass off another writer's words as your own. The difference between that and complete is that with complete plagiarism, it's the entire paper. With direct plagiarism, maybe you're only taking specific sections. So you go to a source and you go, "Oh, I really like that. That puts it so well," and you just kind of like copy and paste it over. And maybe you do that in a couple other sections, or even it's just one, and you don't give credit to the author. You don't quote it. You don't cite it, right? So that's direct plagiarism. And it says an example of direct plagiarism is dropping a line or two from your source directly into your work without quoting or citing the source. So you need to make sure that anytime you take any ideas from any source, that you give credit to that source. And it should only be a small amount of your paper. In this class, maybe 10% of what you write should actually be cited material from another source or other sources. And the rest of it needs to be you explaining your own idea, you drawing out the consequences of that idea, and you use evidence from sources then to support what you're saying. That's the idea. That's the goal that you want to aim for. Another type is paraphrasing plagiarism. This happens when a writer reuses another's work and changes a few words or phrases. It says it's a common type of plagiarism, but if you're presenting someone else's original idea in your writing without crediting them, even if you're presenting it in your own words, it's plagiarism. So this can be something like a student sees ideas and you kind of retype that idea that someone else had and put it in your paper, but you don't say that this was this author's idea. You don't give credit to them. You don't say, "Well, Smith came up with this idea and said," and then paraphrase it. So that's what they're talking about with paraphrasing plagiarism. A more insidious version of this, I suppose, is I've seen students do things like where they'll take a text and they'll go line by line, like sentence by sentence, and they'll go, oh, this first sentence is kind of about this, and they'll retype that idea in their own words. And then they'll look at the next sentence and go, oh, this sentence is sort of about this, and they'll retype that and they'll in their own words. And so they'll just follow the same organizational flow and the same topical flow as another thing, but put their own words in there. That is plagiarism. Your ideas need to come from your brain, right? You need to do the reading, you need to do the thinking, you need to do the writing, and you just use other sources when necessary and if it's required by the assignment to give evidence or support to what you're saying, and you always give credit to those authors. Anything else is plagiarism, okay? You can also plagiarize yourself, like reusing a paper that you wrote in a previous class, maybe something from high school or from another college class. That is plagiarism. You can use the same sources that you had used. You can go to those sources and quote them again in something new, but your work in class always needs to be something fresh, something new, so that you don't plagiarize yourself. Another type is mosaic or patchwork plagiarism. This refers to instances where plagiarized work is interwoven with the writer's original work. This kind of plagiarism can be subtle and easy to miss. It says an example is taking a clause from a source and embedding it in a sentence of your own. So like you write your own sentence or part of it, and then you go copy and paste part of this over, or you retype part of what it says over in your own paper as if you came up with it, and you're just kind of taking little pieces of something instead of big chunks. So again, that's plagiarism. Source-based plagiarism. This is trickier to understand, it says. It's when the writer might cite their sources correctly but present the sources in a misleading way, such as they might credit a source as a primary source instead of a secondary one. This isn't really common in this class, so I'm not going to spend much time with that. You can also plagiarize things by accident, and I completely understand that. That includes things like forgetting to cite sources in your work. You don't give the author name, you don't write the reference page, but you have quotations, say. Or not citing your sources correctly. This is the nitty-gritty of like, did I put quotation marks around it? If it's direct quotes, and get the author's name and so forth in parentheses. Or if you paraphrase something, did I forget to attribute it to the author? So there's accidental plagiarism that occurs as well. Because it's a writing class, and I tend to try and help students if I think that it's accidental plagiarism instead of penalizing them. But if it's overt plagiarism, that's a problem with some serious penalties. Now, I haven't talked about the sources for plagiarism. So plagiarism can happen with a variety of sources, from a book, it can come from websites, it can come from other people's papers, and it can come from AI. AI is the popular one that students are using now because they recognize that AI can basically take the workload off the student's shoulders. And who doesn't like a shortcut, right? Who doesn't like the easy way out? Well, again, the thing with using AI is that it bypasses the educational process, which is exactly what you're here for. It takes away the responsibility of you as a student having to do the reading, of you having to do the thinking, and then of you having to articulate your own ideas and then find sources that help support your ideas. And so using AI in this class is not permitted. Don't copy and paste something over from AI. I recommend that you don't even use it to try and give you ideas. And the reason why is because the temptation to abuse it is really strong, and students really struggle. They'll even do things like, they'll use one of those types of plagiarism I just mentioned, and they'll kind of go, oh, well, AI talks about this idea first and then about this idea, and so I'll just put those ideas in my own words. Nope. You just plagiarized straight from whatever your AI source was, whether ChatGPT or Gemini or whatever. And other times, There will even be things where it's like, well, AI generated the outline and I wrote stuff. Well, except you didn't do the thinking, right? These aren't ideas that came from your head. And so that's a problem. There's other problems that are associated with AI. For example, it makes stuff up. It makes up information that is completely wrong. It will make up sources, so it will give you a quotation if you tell it to, and it will quote a source, and then you go check out that source, and it's about a totally different topic, and it doesn't say what it says that it says. It will make up references. So using AI in your personal life, you do whatever you want. But for the sake of assignments in this class, don't use it. There are consequences to it. The English department is updating its rules about what those consequences are. So instead of talking about them in this video, I'm going to just say, make sure that you check the additional information that I've written out, which will have the consequences for plagiarism, whether it's AI or the traditional stuff from a book or a website or whatever. Make sure that you know what those consequences are, and you need to make sure that you avoid plagiarism. So come up with the ideas yourself. If you're going to refer to a text to support an idea that you have, then you need to either quote it directly and then cite it appropriately, or you need to paraphrase it and cite it appropriately. So there's an in-text citation and a reference, okay, on your reference page or your works cited page if it's MLA style. So again, make sure that you're avoiding plagiarism. Don't use these other sources and just try and copy and paste things over. Make sure that the ideas are your own. This goes for any sort of AI-generated text. I recommend that you simply do not use it. If I see language that is consistent with AI, and if I see that it flows in the same order, and if I see that there's ideas there and things aren't cited, and if there's other sorts of problems that come up with AI, you will be getting the consequence for plagiarism, just as you would as if you had taken someone else's paper and you were borrowing ideas from their paper. Okay, so with that said, make sure that you're doing, again, the reading and the thinking and the writing yourself. Thanks.